everybody, welcome back to the channel. I have another developer interview for you, and this is an exciting one. So I did a video about a month ago talking about really cool games that have awesome art styles and completely made of fabric, and one of those games is called Hyperdrive Inn. And I have with me today the lead developer of Hyperdrive Inn, developer of the developer of Hyperdrive Inn from Horsefly Games by the name of, I'm going to get this right, Juho Kuorikoski.
Hey, hello, you got it right.
I got it right. Okay, sweet. All right. Okay. Ooh. Well, I had a little bit of practice beforehand, but yeah. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel. We're going to talk about his experience, talk about what he's been up to, and just talk about the game itself, because Hyperdrive Inn comes out in October, and I would love to hear more about it and just talk about some milestones you've reached. So yeah, again, Juho, thank you so much for coming onto the channel, and thank you so much for coordinating with me and our crazy schedules, because you're coming to me from Finland, right?
Yeah, Finland.
All right, awesome, man. All right, cool. Well, let's just start at the beginning. Let's just start just how you got into gaming and game development. People are already going to see your impressive gaming wall back there. So you've been involved in games for a very long time. So I would love to hear how you started in game development and gaming in general, and just
Yeah.
where are your humble beginnings at?
Well, it all started with Commodore 64 in the early 90s, as well as for many others here in Finland. It was the we all played with old Commodore computers here, and I got it from my dad, and that was my first touch into games and gaming. And I've been playing games ever since, and I've always wanted to make games myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you the other side of my room because old PC games are my
Oh,
true
sweet.
passion.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and I have grown up with old LucasArts adventure games,
Oh,
and
yeah.
those are probably the fondest memories of my childhood. And I've always wanted to make similar games. So, but then I decided that I would, making games is not possible here in Finland because we're a small country, and there were at the time when I had to go to study, there was only a handful of game studios back then. So I
Hmm.
decided to become a software engineer. And uh, at the same time, I started writing game reviews, and I have been doing that for the past 15 years or so. And so basically everything started to link together, and I have written a couple of books about games here, Finnish game industry. And in 2016, no, it was earlier, 2015, a good friend of mine, Henry Tervapuro, and we started talking about that we should actually try to make games. And we founded a game studio called Platonic Partnership in
Okay.
2016, and
Gotcha.
we made a game called Lydia, which was released in 2017. It was this very dark game about substance abuse from a viewpoint
Oh.
of a small child.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh. Oh wow.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
deep.
yeah, and I really think that it's one of the most depressing things I've ever seen, even though I've made it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's funny.
but it was pretty big deal here in Finland. We won a bunch of awards for that, and that really got us into the game development. So that's basically where I've started.
That's
And
awesome.
Lydia, yeah, and Lydia was a point and click adventure game. It's a very straightforward and simple in terms of game mechanics. You can play through, I think, in 1 or 2 hours. So it's a very short game. But I don't know. It really resonated with the audience, and probably and especially here in Finland, because I don't know if you know this, but alcoholism is basically a national disease here in Finland because
Oh, I didn't know that. No.
it's pretty sad, but everyone here in Finland has alcoholics in their families, or at least they
Hmm.
know one. So
Yeah. Oh man. Well, that's tough. Yeah. That's hard. But yeah, that's interesting. Just going back to the Lucas. Did you ever play the old? I'm sure you played all the Monkey Island games, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
The Secret of Monkey Island 2 is probably my all-time favorite game, and those games actually taught me English back in the day because
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
I,
Did
I
you
learned
did you play
yeah.
the remake, the Return to Monkey Island?
Yeah,
When
absolutely loved it.
yeah,
It was an
that's awesome.
excellent game. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so going to Lydia, is that available to still play, or where
Yeah,
could
yeah,
someone find that?
yeah. It's available for all console platforms and mobile devices too.
Okay, I'll
Yeah, and yeah, I think no, I'm sorry, it's not available for Xbox, but every other console platform
okay,
and PC.
got it. Man, yeah, that's so sometimes it's always good to have games that, tell stories like that so people are aware. I actually just played a game recently called Fractured Minds. It's a puzzle game by just a solo developer. It's like 20 minutes and it deals with mental health and anxiety. So, yeah, I mean, it's not every game needs to be like a high budget action adventure game, but some games just need to tell a good story and then it has like deeper meanings in it. So, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
So it seems like
yeah,
your job as a software manager kind of helped come full circle back into making games because you kind of had a good understanding of how things work from like a coding perspective, right?
yeah. You could imagine, but I sucked at school.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I was awful. I was terrible, and basically had to learn everything by doing. So
Oh, yeah.
and the education it was very different because we made these command prompt programs with mainly with C++, so it was very boring, and
Mm-hmm.
and figuring out game development and programming through that, I think you are it's motivational because you are doing something fun with it
Yeah,
while
for
you're
sure.
figuring out how to program stuff.
Nice. And
Yeah,
when did Lydia come out again?
it was 2017.
2017. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. I'll have to check that out. There's another game that you made because I was doing a little bit of research on you called
Mm.
Local News with Cliff Rock Slide.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It was released in last May. It was
yeah.
my this company's first game, and it's basically a first-person adventure game slash visual novel of sorts. And I have I've been working as a journalist for 10 years, and I was pretty worried about all those fake news and stuff like that. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I thought that it would be cool to make a game that would, it's a humorous adventure game, but it would uh, explore a bit with these themes, and
Right.
and you could show people that how journalists actually do their job. So that was basically the idea. But
Yeah.
it's a very stupid, humorous adventure game with cults and giant vegetables and stuff like that. So it's
Oh
not to
yeah.
be taken too seriously.
Nice. So let me back up real quick before we get more into that, because you just said that you made Local News with Cliff Rockslide under a different name. So was Lydia under Horsefly Games, or was that just a
No, no, no.
different?
No, local news is Clip Rockslide and Hyperdrive Inn. They are made by Horsefly Games and me. And
Okay.
the other games that I've been working on, such as Lydia, they were released under the title under the company of Platonic Partnership. It was the
Gotcha. Okay.
first game company that I founded with three of my friends, and they stayed at Vasa, and I moved to other side of the country. So it made
Okay.
sense to found a new company.
Okay. So you founded Horsefly Games. So is that so that's you and I think you have like maybe one other person who
No,
works with you?
I'm the only one working here, but I do have
Okay.
some very talented subcontractors
Oh,
working with
sweet.
me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Where did
Two graphic artists and a composer.
Nice. Yeah. Where did the name Horsefly Games come from?
Well, we have quite a lot of horseflies here in
Oh,
Finland at
okay.
summers. Yeah, and they're
Nice.
very nasty things. I hate them, but I think that they are small and they pack a punch, so they
Do
bite
they?
hard. So I thought, yeah, really hard, and
Oh,
I thought that it's a good name for game studio because I intend to stay small, but hopefully to bite hard.
man,
Mm.
I should name a game company Mosquitoes because I live out here in Texas and mosquitoes get pretty bad in the summertime. So or June bugs anyway. But yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So made Lydia made local new. So before we like talk about Hyperdrive In, I want to segue from your previous game. What kind of lessons did you learn from? I mean, I guess both games, but most specifically, local news with Cliff Rockslide. What kind of lessons did you learn that helped carry you into Hyperdrive In?
Well, I think the first and foremost is that never make a console game.
Okay.
Always start. Yeah, it was a very awful experience. But yeah, I kind of understand why.
Yeah.
Because they are very rigid companies, these console manufacturers, and local news to speak
Yeah.
Rockslide was initially released for Nintendo Switch, so there was a lot of bureaucracy you had to fight when dealing with
Oh.
Nintendo.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
Nintendo's
so
gonna
it's
be Nintendo. Yeah, I get that.
yeah. Yeah, but unfortunately, I can't go into too much detail of that because of
No, that's
those
fair. Yeah, you don't have to.
thick
Yeah.
NDA contracts. But
The
uh,
ninjas will
if
come after us.
yeah, yeah, but if there are any aspiring indie developers out there, I would strongly recommend that doing a initial version for PC and then port it to consoles, and
Yeah.
preferably with a company that does the porting stuff. It's a lot
That
easier.
that's why I guess for me personally, that's why I've been like more shifting to like the whole PC thing. Like recently, I just got a Steam Deck. I actually sold my Nintendo Switch to help pay for that because I've realized that a lot of indie game developers, it's a lot easier just to put your game first up on Steam or on
Mm.
PC, and then eventually do the console port. Because yeah, Xbox and Sony and Nintendo, it's harder to port over to those. So just put it on PC first. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of indie game developers move more into the PC space. So I'm like, I should be more in that. So that yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense. So
Yeah,
did
and
you did
you know the stuff like running updates when you are
yeah,
when you know make modifications and you upload the stuff to Steam. It's 15 minutes and it's available for everyone. And
right.
for example, in these console platforms, you need to they basically audit every update, so it'll take days, maybe even weeks, until you can get that patch out there. So it's a very nerve-wracking if you have a game with some pretty nasty bugs, and you have to sit on your hands and wait until they get processed. So
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, that's real
yeah.
tough. Yeah. Did you get any favorable reviews from Cliff Rockslide? Did people seem to receive it well?
Well, I think it was a bit of a mixed bag, and in hindsight, I can totally understand why, and that's basically the second lesson that I learned, that you don't want to mix things too much, because
Mm.
local news Cliff Rockslides, it's an FPS game and it's combined with visual novel, so basically there's too much game for anyone who loves visual novels and too little of game for those who want the FPS games. So
Ah,
I think
okay.
yeah, and I think it has its audience, but it's very narrow. So I don't have any regrets making the game. I think it came out pretty great. But if I would start it over again, I would probably make it 2D and maybe even more geared towards adventure game fans.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
Mm.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's always good feedback to have. It just carry it forward. So let's talk about your current game, which is, in my opinion, like really ambitious because you and another developer are kind of doing the same thing, but you're using Fabric to create characters. And so let's talk about Hyperdrive Inn. So, give us all a brief summary of what Hyperdrive Inn is about. Like basically pitch your game.
Well, Hyperdrive Inn is a point-and-click adventure game set in an infinite hotel, and it features graphics made entirely out of scanned fabric samples and a soundtrack that takes heavy influences from Finnish folk music. And it has tons
Nice.
of replay value because majority of the content is randomly selected, so you can play it through several times and it will be always different.
Yeah, yeah, I've been seeing so much about that and it's really cool. Like, yeah, let's talk about how in the heck where did the idea come from to just start scanning fabric and then creating characters out of that and coding all the like walk me through that process of like the whole fabric process because that's like another layer of work that I can't fathom how much time it takes to do that.
Well, it actually saves quite a lot of time.
It does. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it does because when I was making the first prototype of the game, it was then a first-person 3D game, and when I was drawing out at how much I would need content for the game in order for the randomization to work properly, it's a lot. It's a hell of a lot of stuff. and I was thinking that I will never have such a budget that I can afford to buy 3D models for all of that. So I had to
Mm.
figure out how to make a lot of stuff with relatively tight schedule, and it shouldn't cost that much.
Yeah.
So I was I really don't know where the idea came to my head that I could try and texture these 2D sprites with fabrics, but it was one weekend when I had the idea, and I took some photographs of tablecloths and other clothes that were around the house, and uh, I textured a few sprites with them, and then I animated them and dropped them in Unity, and it looked pretty cool. So
Yeah.
then I called this local upholstery corporation. They put new fabrics on sofas and chairs and such. And I asked them, do you guys have any extra fabrics? And they were asking that what. Well, yeah, we do, but what do you need them for? And I said, I'm making a game, and they sure, come and get them. And
Nice.
a couple of hours later, I had my car full of those sheets of texture that when
Yeah.
you go when you're going to buy a sofa, they will show you these folders that have these fabric samples, and I had them.
Right.
I had loads of them, and then I bought a scanner, and I started scanning, and there are, I think, it's a bit over 1,200 different fabric
Wow.
textures that are used in the game, but
Wow.
but when you're making stuff, basically all you need is a blank template that's cut in Photoshop to the right dimensions, whether it's a prop used in a level or a character, and then you just slap on those fabric textures and you're done. So
Oh.
yeah,
Okay.
it looks cool, and it makes asset production very streamlined.
Yeah. Oh man, that rail. Thank you for explaining because that makes a whole lot of sense. Like to cut down costs, just use fat. That's really cool. Yeah, I'm looking at your page. I'm seeing like the scanner that you're putting it in and just making the art assets. That's awesome. I love that, man, and it really makes your game stand out among just your standard adventure point and click game. Because I can't even, like I said, I can't even conceive of the idea of just using like I can't afford our assets. I'm gonna just take Fabric and then just put that in. And so you say use Unity as the engine for that. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's cool. Yeah. I mean, I guess you're still using Unity after all the Unity stuff happened. I think last
Yeah,
year.
yeah, it was a nasty news, and I really can't agree on that. But thank goodness they backtracked from those
Oh yeah.
changes
Oh
a
yeah.
bit. Yeah,
People made a quite a noise about that.
yeah, and
So
I was super pissed off when I learned about them, and I'm still thinking about switching engines once I'm done with this, because if I had been a little I was so far along with this one, so I couldn't
yeah, for
swap
sure.
engines at that point. But for the
Right.
next game, I really have to think hard if I'm going to switch to Godot or something like that. But
Yeah, yeah,
haven't made
yeah.
a decision yet, because it's like uh, if they change terms of service
Mm,
on a whim, basically, and
yeah.
there's and even though they back down now, there's no telling that what will happen next
Right.
time.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, they could change tomorrow. They could be like, "Hey, you know
yeah.
that thing we said last year? Yeah, that's back up." Um, so hopefully it doesn't happen. It was a really unfortunate situation. I saw a lot of devs that I knew, like any devs and like all devs across the board, were like, "This is the worst. Like we don't like this at all." Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that Unity came to their senses when the big corporations contacted them, because I
Hmm.
think one of those Switch's Pokemon games are made with Unity. So
Yeah, yeah,
mm,
yeah. They have a lot. They have a lot of sway. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, cool. So yeah, so how long did it take you? How long has Hyperdrive been in development in totality, like from the time you started?
Well, I think it's roughly, I think it's 11 months now, because I started working on it right after the release of Local News with Cliff Rockslide. But the
Okay.
current version, it's a bit more fresh, but I think it's around 10 months or so.
Wow, that's
So
impressive. I was thinking it was gonna be multiple years, but 10 months, man, that's impressive. Just based on the demo and based on like the things you've been seeing, I'm thoroughly impressed the fact that it just took you 10 months. So you must have been really grinding away like every single day. And
yeah,
something I wanna talk about is like I really appreciate, and I mentioned this in my video before. I appreciate your consistency with your devlogs. I love devlogs because it gives us as the consumers or as the players an insight into your process, into understanding what you're doing. I think one at the time I made that video, the one that you put out, it was more about like your like just your health in general and how you just needed to step away for a little bit. And I really appreciate that kind of vulnerability because you're a human being and we're all human beings, and I think us consumers, us as gamers, have to remember, especially in the indie dev scene, that the people making these games are human, and the demands that game development takes on y'all are a lot. And so I really appreciate you like just being vulnerable and just saying, hey, maybe I need to step away for a little bit, because I'm sure it can be tough to just want to develop. I'm sure you've had days where like, man, I don't really want to do this today, but you have
Yeah.
a deadline to meet. So
Mm.
yeah, I appreciate you like your devlogs and you explaining that process.
Yeah, and it's been fun. It's first time that I'm making stuff like that, but I wanted to document the development from all different aspects, and it's been pretty fun, and it gives structures to the week.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it's Friday, it's time to make a devlog, and it's fun, and yeah, and burnout is a thing that you don't want to mess around with, because I've had one very severe burnout in 2017. It was right around after we had launched Lydia. There was a lot of
Mm,
other stuff involved as well, but it really took away ability to work for several months, and I have really haven't recovered completely from that. So it does leave a mark, and I really don't. Games are awesome, but you shouldn't be making them with the cost of your health.
yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. I
Mm,
agree.
mm,
Yeah. So let's get back into Hyperdrive Inn. So point and
mm.
click adventure. Like you said, you're a big fan of LucasArts games, and so this definitely channels that same energy. I think I butchered the character's, your main character's name. Is it Aino? Is that how you
Yeah,
say her?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Aino is your main protagonist, and she's going through this infinite hotel trying to find her father and meeting various characters throughout. And so, yeah, from the demo, I wish I had more in the demo, because I really wanted to dive more into this world. But it's really
Mm.
cool to just have these conversations, to see these characters move around and see all the fabric. And so it's really cool to see. And like you've mentioned, there's randomized content, and like in one of your pages I'm looking at, where it shows like the structure of how your playthrough can
Mm.
go from the prologue into a hub, into a level set, into your conclusion, and even an epilogue. So I think that's really cool. So it seems like there's like relatively infinite amount of things you can play throughout. So I think that's really cool, and so I'm excited to see when people get that in their hands, like what kinds of playthroughs they can do in this infinite hotel. So I thought that's really cool. How difficult was it to do all this randomized content? How difficult that was that to like figure out initially?
Well, I think the ideas were pretty clear on what I wanted to, include in the game, but they have changed quite a bit during development, as a lot of stuff usually does change.
Yeah.
But and the programming side itself, it was pretty easy, but you need to have a ton of stuff, because if you would make a linear game, I think it would be somewhere around the ballpark of 15 to 20 hours if you would play all the stuff that is in the game back to back.
Gotcha.
But when it's randomized for each playthrough, I think it creates pretty interesting results, because usually, when you play a linear game or read a book or watch a movie, basically the team who has made it, they tell you how to feel about it and what's it
Right.
all about.
Yeah.
And in this instance, you give away a bit of that power, because the computer sets basically the structure of the story, because they
Yeah.
select because the computer selects stuff from each level set, and I think it was a pretty tough job to get everything to make sense uh, when there are stuff that is randomly selected, how everything does connect to each other, and
Right.
I've done reasonably good job on that, but there's still lot of work to be done on that regard. But I actually got the game to a state a couple of weeks ago. I mean last week that it can be completed from start to finish, and it's
Yeah, I
pretty
was.
cool to.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna mention that your last devlog,
Mm,
like that's a huge milestone to
mm,
have reached completion on the game, and at this far out in development, when you have until October to release it.
yeah.
So it sounds like the majority of your time spent is just gonna be polish, right? It's just all
Yeah,
polish.
well, basically there's quite a lot of backtracking to be done, and I work the way I work is that I do a rough sketch of everything, and then I start refining it, and basically that's where I'm at with the game right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dialogue that has to be rewritten, and then like I mentioned, a lot of stuff that needs to be connected to each other, and
Hmm.
there is still quite big chunks of stuff that doesn't really make sense yet. So basically, in a sense, the work is now just beginning.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It's
But
the real work
yeah,
happens now.
yeah,
Now that
and
the
of
game is
course,
done, now I have to work. That's
yeah, and
funny.
of course, there's testing and as you mentioned, polishing. So
Yeah.
and the stuff that you have seen in the recent devlogs, it's basically the graphics are all just placeholders at the moment. They lack
Mm.
full texturing and such. So we still have to import finished assets to the game. So there's a ton of stuff to do. But
Yeah,
I
for
think we
sure.
have enough time because there's still 6 months to go before the
Yeah.
launch.
Oh yeah. That I mean, if you develop the whole game in only 10 months and you have 6 months to go, I mean, who's who's to tell how good the game will be when it finally releases in October? So I'm excited. So you obviously because you're Finnish, there's a lot of your culture and your history in that. So I'm sure a lot of like as an American, I don't know much about Finnish heritage or about Finnish culture, and so I think are you are you are you wanting players to take away some of your culture and some of your heritage? Like one of the big takeaways from that, because I think part of what you mentioned is that the your characters take a lot from like old Finnish cartoons or Finnish like folklore or stuff like that. So there's a lot of like heavy Finnish cultural influence, and then so I think yeah,
Yeah, well, there are some, and the animation style of the game, it is basically these paper puppets that are
right,
animated.
yeah,
I grew up with that kind of stuff because we had a lot of uh, because we are Russia is unfortunately our neighbor. A lot of animation stuff
mm,
and such like that. It was bought
yep,
from there, and that was shown in the kids shows here or from other Eastern European countries. So that kind of visual style it has stuck with me from since I was a little kid, and probably the biggest Finnish thing in the game is the soundtrack because I live at a town called Kaustinen here
okay,
in middle of Finland, and we have these annual folk music festivals here.
gotcha.
It's a 9-day festival full of folk music around the
That
world,
sounds
and
awesome.
yeah, it's pretty cool, and because there are I think 5,000 people living in Kaustinen, and it triples the amount of people at the
Wow.
city doing that. So
Yeah,
it's
that's really cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
That's
So
cool.
I've kind of grown up with all kinds of violin musics, and it's a pretty cool that I'm able to show other people that what makes Finnish folk music so great.
So editing Chike here, as I was editing the last 10 to 12 minutes of this interview, it turns out it was entirely corrupted, and so it was a lot of skips, a lot of things that I just really couldn't edit out, I didn't want to edit out all of what we were talking about because there's some good stuff in the last part of this interview. So what you're going to be seeing from here on out is just the demo gameplay. So here you go. Yeah, I love it. I can't wait. I don't know virtually anything about Finnish folk music, so I'm excited to hear all of what Finland has to offer in this game. How I guess how many languages is it going to be in? Obviously, it's in English, and I'm sure it's in your native language as well. Um,
Well, there's going to be so much text that it's probably going to be only in English during launch.
okay,
But we have been asking about localization. But when you're an indie developer, you work with a budget, so I can't promise on that. But we are
yeah,
looking into it.
okay, gotcha, cool, yeah. So the English speaking world will have a chance to look at it. Is English like pretty prominent in Finland? This is just an aside. Like a lot of people speak English.
I think the vast majority of Finnish people do speak English because we are in a lucky position when compared to, for example, Germany, France, or Spain, that none of the TV programs were dubbed when they were released here in Finland.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
when I
Yeah.
was when I was watching old James Bond movies when I was a kid, so you kind of learned the language while
Nice.
we were
Oh,
watching
that's.
that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh
Yeah,
man.
and of course those adventure games I mentioned, they
Yeah.
were also very important in learning the language, because
Nice.
I was playing the first Monkey Island game with a actual dictionary, because I didn't have a clue what they were saying, but I was
Oh,
so
interesting.
interested
That's
about that, so
yeah.
I got on my bike and went to the local library and got with and head back home with a Finnish English dictionary, this thick book.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, cool. Couple more things. So obviously we said that your game's done. You're just polishing. So can you give us a sneak peek as to what your next? Actually, no, because this is gonna come out like after your devlog is coming out. But let's just say what is the most next immediate thing for you in terms of this game?
Well, I think the first thing that I'm going to do is, of course, I'm going to do some test runs, how it works, because I really want to, feel the vibe of the game, that how it works now that you
Mm-hmm.
can play it from start to finish. And then there's, of course, some stuff that needs to be implemented, because, like I mentioned in my one of my devlogs, that I reworked some of the core logic of the game, because
Mm-hmm.
it didn't have inventory puzzles, and I wanted to include them. So it requires quite a lot of backtracking, because I have to modify the majority of the puzzles to work with the new logic of these puzzles. But I think it's really worth it, because it does add quite a lot of depth to the gameplay.
Yeah.
And
Do you have other people who play test who give you
yeah,
feedback?
of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I have been actually, if people are interested in testing, please do contact me, because you can't have too many testers,
Yeah.
and I think that if for example you are interested, I can provide you with a test key, so you can play a full game in a couple of months if you want to.
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would love to test. Yeah, I'm interested. Yeah.
Mm,
Always willing to give feedback
mm.
where I can. Yeah, that's awesome. Sweet.
Yeah, and
Yeah. Oh, what were you going to say?
and of course, testing is very important part of game development, and
Yep.
that's something that you really can't do too much of, because every game ships with bugs, and I hope that this one uh, will have a very little amount of them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, when it doesn't amount of time, I don't think there will be. Hopefully there's not. And if there is, I mean, hopefully that's very, very minor.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, you can, sometimes code don't work.
yeah,
Some
yeah. Mm. And when even if I had let's say 10 testers, and when the game launches, it hopefully has thousands of players, so they can have their different kind of combination of things. So there's bound to
yeah.
happen something.
Yeah. But I think that'll be exciting whenever the game does release and you have so
Yeah.
many people playing it, and you have such a large data pool to pull from to just see like, okay, what works and what doesn't work. So actually, yeah, that was going to be my last question. So after the game releases, and I think I saw it's October 31st, right? Halloween?
I think it was 21st of October.
21st.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha. Okay. So October
yeah. But
21st. So whenever that does come out, what are there any post-release plans? Like, is there DLC, any updates, or anything that you've considered adding on post-release, or is that something that you're gonna think about after the game is out?
well, luckily the game is built as this very modular thing, so adding content is relatively easy, and
Yeah.
because basically it's a sort of an anthology game, because all of these levels are they're self-contained stories,
Oh yeah.
and
Okay.
gameplay bits which do link to the main story, but because of this, it would be pretty easy to add stuff after launch, and I have actually given this quite a lot of thought, but it all depends on how well the game is received and how it sells. So it doesn't make sense that if the game sells just a handful of units to produce more stuff to that. But let's hope that it doesn't happen, and I can I can make some new levels to it when the game has launched.
Well, I hope that if you are watching this, that you will wish list this game, wish list Hyperdrive Inn, and then buy it when it comes out. How much is it going to cost when it comes out? I didn't ask that.
14.99.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great price. You at home, you watching can afford $14.99. But what you can do right now is you can wish list Hyperdrive Inn. There's a playable demo, and give it a try, because it's not a long demo, and you can just experience the game for yourself. And also just follow all things Horsefly Games. Where can people follow you most? You have a YouTube channel, I know that for sure, but where else can people follow you?
I'm pretty active on Twitter, and I'm hip and cool, so I have a TikTok account as well.
Oh, TikTok for the
Yeah,
youth.
yeah.
Nice. Do you have
Yeah,
threads? I don't think I see you on thread. Oh yeah, you are on threads. Never mind. Yeah.
yeah, I am. And it's pretty difficult these days because there are so many different social platforms. Because it was a lot easier when you only had Twitter and Facebook, but now it's
I
tough. And
know. Yeah, I'm
mm,
sure marketing is so hard when you have so many social media platforms, but
yeah,
yeah, I know, especially when you do it yourself too. So that's hard. But yeah, but definitely wish list all things Horsefly Games and Hyperdrive Inn. I'm gonna put all of that info in the description of this video so you guys can check it out for yourself. And be sure to check out Juho's devlogs that he puts out every Friday, right? Every Friday?
yeah,
Is that usually
yeah.
when they come out? You also do a really cool thing called Indie Game Sauna, where you yourself you check out various indie games that you're interested in, right?
Yeah, I do that because I like making those videos, and like I mentioned, I have a pretty extensive background as a games journalist, so it's
Yeah.
fun to do these things.
Sweet.
And hopefully I can give some visibility to indie developers because it's a tough market, and marketing an indie game it's very very difficult. And so I appreciate very much talking with you because it's nice to be talking about this stuff, and this is marketing as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's
Mm,
exactly why I love doing things like this, because it helps give y'all visibility
mm,
and helps people like figure out what your game is. And so
mm,
I love it, and that's why I've gotten into doing this specifically with indie games, because there's a lot of cool ideas out there that just people need to pay attention of. I mean, I was watching a video
mm,
recently about it's like 10 indie games that you've probably never heard of, and I didn't hear about any of them. And I'm like, okay,
mm,
there's so much out there beyond of what we see in the AAA industry that
mm.
people just need to explore. Like they say video games are boring, is that you're just not finding the right video games.
Yeah,
And or
exactly that.
you're either playing
Yeah.
the same video game over and over, but there's so much creativity and love that's put into these games, like games that where you're doing, and I can see the passion that you have for what you've grown up with. So I'm excited, and I hope that you see a lot of success with it. And yeah, so yeah, that's gonna be it for this dev interview. Thank you so much for Yuo for coming to the channel. And
Thank you for
again,
having me.
yeah,
It
of
was my
course.
pleasure.
Yes, everybody wish list his game right now, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe to his channel and my channel. And we will see you on the next one. Peace out.
Yeah. Bye bye.